This is what a guitar sounds like without a MIDI waveform engaged. This is what it sounds like with a square wave modulating volume. Tremolo and stutter effects are great and useful effects to have in your sonic palette, but the truth is we probably don't use them for the majority of our songs, and it might not be justified to have pedals just for these effects. In this video, we are going to see how you can create convincing tremolo and stutter effects using MIDI waveforms from your Morningstar MIDI controller. In this setup, we have the phenomenal Kernome Ridge with us, which we are controlling with MIDI. In our opinion, it is one of the rarer MIDI controllable overdrives that actually sounds really good. If you are interested in listening to tones from the Kernome Ridge, we've linked Paul David's excellent video of it in the description below. We had the pleasure of meeting Paul at NAMM this year, and he's also recently started using the MC6 PRO on his pedal board, which was a pleasant surprise for us when we found out on Instagram. The stutter effect you heard in the intro track was a MIDI waveform modulating the volume of the Ridge pedal. The Ridge is a great pedal for this use case, but really any pedal that allows you to control volume with MIDI will work perfectly well. MIDI waveform engines are built into every Morningstar MIDI controller in our current lineup. The number of engines contained differs slightly with each model. We've posted a video before explaining the basics of MIDI waveforms, and if you'd like to watch that, video link is in the description. As a short summary, MIDI waveforms are continuous streams of MIDI CC messages that modulate your effect parameters by oscillating between minimum and maximum values. They effectively allow you to create automation for your effects in a live setting, similar to what an LFO does for a synth and what ramping does for Chase Bliss pedals. Here I've set up Waveform Engine 1 on the MC6 PRO to generate a square wave with a minimum value of 0 and maximum value of 127. A square wave is suitable for the stutter effect because it goes from minimum to maximum values instantaneously without passing through any of the values in between. This allows us to create a cutting in and out, on and off effect, which is effectively what a stutter is. You can adjust the maximum value to your preferred peak volume, but keeping the minimum value at 0 is usually more suitable for a stutter effect as it completely cuts out the sound. That's it on the waveform engine side of things. Now all we have to do is program a switch on the MC6 PRO to start the engine. Here I have switch A set up with the press action to start Waveform Engine 1. All you need to do is select press and choose CC Waveform Generator. I've set the waveform to follow MIDI clock BPM, which I have synced up to the MIDI clock BPM from Logic Pro. This way, the waveform will always be in sync with Logic when recording. I've selected a 16th note division for a choppy stutter. That is the frequency I felt sounded the best in this case. And for the CC number, you can select the device and parameter you want to control from the MIDI dictionary. In this case, it is the volume parameter on the Kernome that we want to modulate. That's all you have to do. Now when I press the switch, you can hear the MIDI square wave cutting volume in and out, creating our desired stutter effect. I've taken things further by adding a few more messages to this switch. These messages allow me to start and stop the waveform using the same switch, and also let me switch between tremolo and stutter seamlessly. As you can see, when I engage one preset, the other gets disabled. I won't go into detail about setting this up as this video is focused on MIDI waveforms. Moving on to the tremolo effect. Aside from a few parameters, everything is set up similarly to the earlier stutter effect. The stutter waveform was using Engine 1, so we're going to use Engine 2 for our tremolo effect. As you can see, I've selected a sine wave for this because we want a nice, smooth, warble, wobble, you get what I mean. You also notice that we are not dropping volume all the way down to 0. Instead, we are going between a moderate volume at CC value 64 and peak volume at 127. We don't want the sound to cut out completely in this case. Other than that, note division is set to quarter note instead of 16th as we don't need such high frequency for a tremolo effect compared to stutter. You can play around with the different wave shapes to see which you like. You will be able to hear the difference with each one, which is also part of the exploratory fun when experimenting. Finally, let's talk about the stop switch here. This one is pretty simple with just 2 messages. The first stops all waveform engines, and the second sends a CC message to the kernel to set its volume back to 12 o'clock with CC value 64. I hope you had as much fun watching this video as we did creating it for you. If you did, a like would be very much appreciated, and do subscribe so we can meet you again in the next video. See ya!